My name is Tessa Winters. I am 68 years old and I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. For 30 years, I sold pharmaceuticals across the Southwest, 9 sales teams, 3 states, more hotel rooms than I can count. I retired with more money than I ever expected, and a house I paid off with my own 2 hands. I thought retirement would be quiet. It was for a while. Then one Saturday morning, I overheard my son Garrett tell his wife, "Keep playing the good daughter-in-law, she'll leave us everything." I was standing 6 feet away with a pecan pie in my hands. I said nothing. My sister Margot told me to confront him. I said, "Let it be." They thought I was too soft, too old, too trusting. But what happened when Garrett opened that cream-colored envelope at my birthday dinner in front of 22 guests, that is what I need to tell you. Welcome back to Alpha Mom Stories, where we share stories about life, family, and standing your ground. Drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. My husband Robert died on March 3, 1992. A delivery truck crossed the median on I-25 south of Albuquerque. He was 36, Garrett was 8, I was 33. I had a GED, a part-time pharmacy tech job paying $11.50 an hour and $200 in savings. The life insurance was $22,000. That covered 6 months of rent and the funeral, and not a dollar more. I remember sitting at the kitchen table the night after the service, wearing my reading glasses, going through bills. Those tortoiseshell frames were 3 years old already. I am wearing the same pair today. Same scratch on the left lens where Garrett bumped them when he was 9, tried to grab a cookie off the counter and knocked my face with his elbow. Robert would have laughed at that. He laughed at most things I did not meanly, but the way a man laughs when his wife is too stubborn to replace something that works. I enrolled in a pharmaceutical sales certification program at the community college. Night classes 3 times a week while Garrett stayed with my sister Margot. 11 months. I studied at the kitchen table with those reading glasses and a cold cup of coffee. Hired by a pharma distributor covering New Mexico and West Texas. Entry-level territory rep. Starting salary $32,000. 30 years later, I retired as regional director covering Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas. 9 sales teams. A portfolio worth $1.9 million. A paid-off house worth $485,000. A MetLife life insurance policy worth $400,000. I built that by showing up every morning in a blazer and those same reading glasses, doing the work nobody else wanted to do. That skill, showing up, would matter later, more than I knew. Raising Garrett alone was the hardest thing I have ever done. Harder than any quarterly target, harder than any territory negotiation. After Robert died, I worked 60-hour weeks. Garrett spent afternoons at Margot's house. She fed him, helped with homework, drove him to baseball practice while I drove to physician offices across 3 counties. I picked him up at 7 heated dinner from the freezer and fell asleep on the couch with a territory report in my lap. My reading glasses would be crooked on my face when Garrett shook me awake. "Mom, go to bed." He said it like a little adult. I missed his 5th grade science fair, missed his first home run. Margot went to all of them. I paid for everything. Braces $800. Baseball camp $200 per summer. A used Honda Civic for his 16th birthday. 4 years at the University of New Mexico. $94,000 in tuition, books, and housing. After graduation, I helped with a down payment on his first apartment. $45,000 on a single check. Every dollar I told myself, this is what Robert would have wanted. This is what good mothers do. They provide. But Garrett thanked me for the small things, a birthday card, a batch of pecan pie on Sunday morning. He never thanked me for the big things, not the tuition, not the car, not the down payment, not 30 years of mornings when I was gone before he woke up. I remember him at 8 standing at Robert's casket in a suit 2 sizes too big, whispering, "Don't leave me too, Mom." I never left. But somewhere along the way, the boy who clung to me became a man who counted me. Garrett met Janine in the spring of 2019. She was 32, an interior designer in Albuquerque. He was 35, working in marketing. They married in June 2020. Small ceremony in Santa Fe, 16 guests. I paid for the flowers, the photographer, and the catering overage. $3,800. Garrett said thank you. Janine said thank you twice with tears. My first impression of Janine was warm. She was attentive, well-dressed, always asking about my career-specific questions, like she had researched me. She called me Mom by the second dinner. She brought me a lavender candle for my birthday. She remembered my favorite color and that I preferred tea to coffee in the evenings. She remembered everything. That was the problem. In 30 years of pharmaceutical sales, I learned the difference between a rep who believes in the product and one who memorized the brochure. The believer stumbles, sometimes says something unpolished but real. The brochure rep never stumbles. Every word is calibrated. Janine had memorized the brochure. Her compliments were specific but never spontaneous. She only delivered them when someone else was in the room. The first Mother's Day after the wedding, Janine wrote in her card, "You raised the love of my life and I am forever grateful." The second Mother's Day, different card, different design. Inside the same 3 sentences, word for word. I noticed. I said nothing. Garrett was happy. That was enough. They had Lily in 2022 and Owen in 2024. Holding my granddaughter for the first time, her fingers wrapped around my thumb, I forgot about the brochure. For a little while. In January 2024, Garrett called with news. "Mom, we're moving to Las Cruces. We want to be closer to you. The kids need their grandmother." I was thrilled. I helped them find a 3-bedroom ranch 12 minutes from my house. I did not co-sign the mortgage. I have a rule: I do not mix love and collateral. Robert's mother lost her house, guaranteeing a cousin's loan. Babysitting began immediately. Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I read books, took the kids to Apodaca Park, taught Lily to count by 2s, rocked Owen to sleep in my grandmother's rocking chair. I loved it. Children cannot fake affection. When Lily hugged me, I felt it in my chest. When Owen fell asleep in my arms, his breath was warm and real. No brochure, no rehearsal. But the move felt orchestrated. Janine had never mentioned wanting to leave Albuquerque. She had a design business, 3 steady clients, a gym membership. She talked about constantly. She gave it all up in 3 weeks and never complained. And then there was Phyllis, Janine's mother. She lived in Tucson. In 4 years of marriage, she had never visited Garrett's apartment. Not once. But she visited Las Cruces twice in the first month after the move. Both times she walked through my house, every room, including the garage, and asked about property values. I did not know yet what Phyllis was calculating, but I was about to find out. By October 2025, Janine's performance had entered a new phase. She brought me flowers every Friday, always when Garrett was present, always when a neighbor was in the driveway. She posted photos on social media, best meal ever, with heart emojis and took her family first. 200 people liked one post. Not one of them knew that when it was just us and the kids, Janine scrolled her phone and asked what time I would have dinner ready. She spoke in instructions. "Owen needs his bottle at 2. Don't give them sugar before nap." She never said please. Public Janine was warm, adoring, tearful with gratitude. Private Janine was transactional, efficient, and cold as a medical chart. The shift was too clean, too consistent. I recognized it. I had spent 30 years training reps to build rapport with physicians. I knew scripted enthusiasm when I heard it. Who wrote the script? I got my answer on a Tuesday in late October. Janine was on the phone in the kitchen. I was in the next room with Owen. "Mom, the flowers are working," she said. "She eats it up. Keep coaching me." Phyllis. Phyllis was the scriptwriter. I put on my reading glasses and looked at the social media post again. The caption was identical, not similar, identical to one Phyllis had posted about her own former mother-in-law on an old Facebook profile 3 years earlier. Same phrasing, same hashtags. The brochure was not Janine's, it was Phyllis's, and it had been in circulation for years. Saturday, November 8th, 2025. I remember the date because of what it cost me. I arrived at Garrett's house 20 minutes early. I had baked a pecan pie that morning, Robert's mother's recipe. the one I had been making every Sunday for 40 years. Butter, dark Caro syrup, 3 eggs, a cup of Mesilla Valley pecans. I covered it in foil and drove across town with it on the passenger seat, still warm. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside quietly. I did not want to wake Owen. From the kitchen, voices, Garrett and Janine. Clear and unhurried, the way people talk when they believe they are alone. "Keep playing the good daughter-in-law," Garrett said. "She'll leave us everything." Janine laughed, a soft, practical laugh like someone reviewing a spreadsheet that came in above target. "I know. Phyllis says 6 more months. Victor ran the numbers. She's worth close to $3 million. Just don't overdo it. Mom's not stupid, but she's soft." I stood in the hallway with my reading glasses on and a pecan pie in my hands. The foil was still warm against my palms. I did not move. I did not breathe. She's soft. That was my son's word for 30 years of 60-hour weeks. Soft. The word he chose for a woman who raised him alone, buried his father, and wrote every check he ever cashed. I set the pie on the hallway table, walked to the living room, picked up a book. When Lily found me, I read her 3 chapters of a story about a girl who built a treehouse by herself. I babysat for 8 hours that day. I did not say a word about what I heard. Not one word. That night I sat at my kitchen table, reading glasses on, staring at the wall. I thought about Robert. He would have driven to Garrett's house at midnight and put his fist through the drywall. Robert was not a quiet man. He once confronted a neighbor who let his dog dig up our garden, stood on the man's porch at 6 a.m. in a bathrobe. But Robert was gone, and I had learned in 33 years without him that fury is expensive and planning is free. I had watched sales reps lose territories because they confronted a problem before they had a strategy. The rep who waited, documented, and repositioned always came out ahead. I thought about the funeral, 8-year-old Garrett clinging to my hand. "Don't leave me too, Mom." His voice small and high, his fingers laced through mine so tightly my knuckles went white. I never left. I was not perfect. I worked too many hours, missed too many games, let Margot handle homework more nights than I should have. Garrett had a right to resent some of that, but not like this. Not with notebooks and timelines and a man named Victor running my credit in the dark. Soft. The word echoed. I took off my reading glasses, set them next to the pecan pie I had brought home. They had not touched a single slice. I would not confront. I would not cry. I would not beg my son to love me honestly. I would plan. 30 years in pharmaceutical sales taught me one thing: never show them the quarterly report before you have already repositioned the portfolio. Sunday, November 9th. I called Margot at 8 a.m, told her everything. The pie, the hallway, the reading glasses on my face, the foil still warm while my son called me soft. Margot was silent for 4 seconds. Then she erupted. "You need to confront him. Today. Right now." "Margot, this is a con, Tessa. Your own son is running a con on you." "I know. Then do something." "I am doing something." "What?" "Let it be. Let it be. They are planning to strip you of everything you built. This is organized, Tessa. They think I'm soft, Margot. Let them think that. What are you going to do?" "What I have always done. Read the report. Reposition the portfolio. This isn't a territory review, Tessa. Everything is a territory review. Some territories just cost more than others." Margot went quiet. She thought I was surrendering, forgiving too much, loving too hard, getting ready to write another check. She did not know that in 30 years of pharmaceutical sales, I never once lost a territory. Not one. When the numbers went against me, I restructured. When a competitor undercut my pricing, I renegotiated. When a rep failed his targets, I documented, planned, and acted. Every time. I hung up and opened my laptop, typed one phrase into the search bar: estate attorney, Las Cruces, New Mexico. Helen Reeves, 5 stars, 12 years in practice, trusts and estate restructuring. Office on Main Street, 2 blocks from the courthouse. I booked an appointment for December 3rd. If you have ever watched someone smile at you while planning how to take what you built, you know this feeling. It is not anger, it is clarity. Hit subscribe and stay with me. This story is just getting started. For 2 weeks, I babysat as usual, Monday through Thursday, reading books, making lunches, cutting grapes for Owen, walking them to the park in the afternoon when the Oregon mountains turned purple. But now, I watch differently. I listened with the same focus I used in quarterly performance reviews, the kind where you already know which rep is underperforming and you are simply documenting the pattern before you act. Janine's Tuesday calls with Phyllis became my field research. Thin walls, loud phone voice. Janine always took the calls in the bedroom, but the baby monitor was still on in the kitchen. November 11th. Victor says the IRA alone is probably worth $300,000. November 18th. Keep the pie thing going. She loves that. It keeps her feeling needed. November 22nd. Garrett's going to bring up the will at Thanksgiving. Victor wrote him talking points. I wrote each one down in a blue notebook. Date, time, exact words. Kept the notebook in my reading glasses case the last place anyone would look. Garrett had started asking questions. Casual at first. Mom, have you thought about a will? Then sharper. Who handles your investments? Then targeted, do you have a power of attorney set up? Each question landed with the precision of a coached sales pitch. Someone had scripted him. I answered vaguely. I'll look into it. I have an advisor. Good thought, Garrett. I gave him nothing, and I wrote down everything. Late November. A credit monitoring alert appeared in my email, a habit from the pharmaceutical industry where we guarded compliance records carefully. New inquiry on your credit report, initiated by Devane Financial Partners, Phoenix AZ. Victor Devane, Janine's uncle. A certified financial planner I had never met, never spoken to, never authorized to access my credit history. I put on my reading glasses and read the alert twice. He had pulled my credit report. My mortgage balance zero paid off since 2019. My credit card limits 2 cards combined $35,000 both paid monthly. My FICO score 812. A man I had never sat across a table from now knew more about my finances than my own sister. I looked up the law that evening, sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea going cold beside me. Fair Credit Reporting Act 15 U.S.C., Section 1681B. An unauthorized credit inquiry requires a permissible purpose, a lending relationship, an insurance application, an employment check. Victor had none. He had broken federal law to help his niece's husband estimate how much money he could take from his mother. I screenshot the alert, saved it to a folder on my desktop labeled November. That evening, I called Margot. It's worse than we thought. There's a team. Garrett, Janine, Phyllis, and her brother Victor, a licensed financial advisor in Phoenix who just pulled my credit without my consent. Tessa, please, just confront them. This has gone far enough. Not far enough, Margot. December 3rd, I have an appointment. Victor Devane had made his first mistake. He would not get a chance to make a second. Thanksgiving dinner. Thursday, November 27th, 2025, at Garrett's house. Turkey 3 sides, cranberry sauce, and my pecan pie on the counter next to a store-bought cheesecake. Phyllis flew in from Tucson the day before. Victor drove from Phoenix on Wednesday night. For family, they said. We wanted to be together. Neither had attended a Thanksgiving at my table in any previous year, not once in 5 years. The 4 of them sat across from me like a board of directors at an earnings call, smiling, coordinated, each one taking a turn as if they had rehearsed the sequence. Victor first. Tessa, you've built an impressive portfolio. Have you considered a family trust? I could help. Pro bono. That's kind, Victor. I'll think about it. Phyllis. You've worked so hard. You deserve to know your legacy is protected. Janine on cue. We just want to make sure you're taking care of Mom. Garrett, the closer. We love you, Mom. We just want to be there for you. I adjusted my reading glasses, took a bite of turkey. I appreciate the concern. After dinner, I passed the hallway. Victor stood near the coat closet phone angled toward the counter where my purse sat. I could not prove what he was doing, but the angle was wrong. I noticed. 4 people at that table wanted my money. One was my son. None knew I was already 3 steps ahead. I drove home with leftover pecan pie on the passenger seat. Nobody at dinner had eaten a single slice. They had eaten the cheesecake. Early December. Garrett came to my house alone on a Wednesday evening. He sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I went through Robert's bills. 33 years ago, the same one where I decided to enroll in pharmaceutical sales. "Mom, I've been thinking. What if I helped manage some of your accounts? I could be added as joint holder, just in case something happens." "In case something happens to me..." "Health stuff." He paused. "You're 67, Mom." He said my age like a diagnosis. "I have a financial advisor, Garrett." "I know, but Victor says joint accounts simplify estate transitions." "Victor?" "Janine's uncle. I know who Victor is." Something flickered in his face. He had said the name too naturally. Victor was supposed to stay backstage. "It came up in conversation," he said. "Did it?" My son had quoted a financial advisor he was not supposed to be consulting about my money. He saw my face and pivoted smooth, practiced the kind of pivot I had watched underperforming reps execute when caught. "Just think about it. No rush." He left. I watched his car pull out. I picked up my reading glasses. There was a pecan pie cooling on the rack. He had not asked about it, had not asked about Lily's ear infection, had not asked about Owen's new word, Nana. He had asked about my accounts. That told me everything. December, a Tuesday, babysitting at Garrett's house, Lily drawing at the kitchen table, Owen napping. I needed paper towels. Lily had spilled apple juice across her drawings. I opened the 3rd drawer by the refrigerator. Under a stack of takeout menus and a packet of expired coupons, I found a spiral notebook. Burgundy cover, college ruled. Phyllis's handwriting, I recognized it from the birthday card she'd given Garrett the year before. Page 1, Tessa Winters Asset Summary. House $485 Zillow estimate 10/10/2025. Investment portfolio so 1.9 manner Victor's estimate from credit pull. Life insurance $400,000 MetLife. Retirement accounts $320,000. Total approximately $3.1 million. Page 2, timeline. Phase 1, move to Las Cruces, status complete. Phase 2, increase affection and visibility, OCT Deck 2025. Status in progress. Phase 3, get added to accounts by summer 2026. Status pending. Phase 4, Tessa Health event, be ready to assume power of attorney. Consult Victor re-capacity. Phase 4, they were waiting for me to get sick, or to decline, or worse, to need them so badly I could not say no. I put on my reading glasses. Read every page twice. Photographed each one with my phone, 12 pages front and back, 24 images. Then I placed the notebook back exactly where I found it under the takeout menus at the same angle. I cleaned up the apple juice, kissed Lily's forehead, read her a new story, finished babysitting, drove home at 5:30 with the windows down and the desert air warm on my face. I had found their business plan. 24 pages of strategy asset estimates and phase timelines written by a woman who had met me 4 times and already calculated my net worth to the nearest 1,000. Now it was time to write mine. Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. Helen Reeves's office on Main Street. Helen was 55, silver-haired, and direct in the way only people who spend their careers telling families the truth can be. 12 years of trust and estate law in New Mexico. No art on her walls, just diplomas, a state bar certificate, and case files organized by year. I liked her immediately. She reminded me of the best sales trainers I had worked with. No filler, just facts. I laid everything on her desk. my blue notebook with dates, times, and verbatim quotes from Janine's phone calls, photographs of Phyllis's burgundy notebook, all 24 images printed on plain paper, the credit monitoring alert showing Victor's unauthorized inquiry, screenshots of Janine's recycled social media captions. Helen read it all without speaking. 7 minutes. Then she took off her glasses. "You have options, Tessa. You could change your will, but a will is contestable. You could confront your son, but confrontation without consequence is just a conversation. Or you could do something they cannot undo. Not now, not in court, not ever. I want something irrevocable. Then we create a charitable remainder unit rust, a CRUT under Internal Revenue Code Section 664. She pulled a legal pad toward her and drew a diagram. I transfer assets into the trust. The trust pays me a fixed percentage, at least 5% annually, for the rest of my life. My income does not change. But upon my death, the remainder goes to a qualified 501 CE3 charity. Not to Garrett, not to anyone in that kitchen. Once established, it cannot be revoked. Not by your son, not by a court, not by you. Governed by the New Mexico Uniform Trust Code, Chapter 46A. And the beneficiary designations, life insurance retirement bank accounts, changed separately under New Mexico Statute 45-2706. No one's consent required but yours. You are the account holder. You designate. I sat for a moment. The office was quiet. Afternoon light came through the blinds in thin bars across Helen's desk. I want the remainder to go to a foundation named after my husband, the Robert Winters Memorial Fund. We can establish that through the Dona Ana County Community Foundation, a registered 501c3. Robert believed people should earn what they have. I tried to teach Garrett that. I failed. But the money can still do what Robert would have done. And the grandchildren. 529 education savings plans through the Education Plan of New Mexico for Lily and Owen. In my name. Garrett cannot touch them. Helen estimated 6 to 8 weeks to draft, review, and execute. Take your time, I said. Do it right. I'm in no hurry. I left her office at 3:40 p.m. The sky over Las Cruces was copper and dust the way it gets in December when the sun drops behind the Robledo Mountains. I sat in my car for a minute before starting the engine. I was not sad. I was not angry. I was ready. December 2025. Christmas approached and Janine's performance peaked. She posted a photo of me on Instagram. Me on the floor with Lily Owen asleep on my chest, my reading glasses pushed up on my forehead. Caption, "This woman raised the love of my life and now she's raising our babies. I don't deserve her." Blessed Mill Family First. 247 likes, 31 comments. You're so lucky. What a beautiful family. Mother-in-law goals. One comment from Phyllis. You've always had the best heart, Janine. I read it wearing those same reading glasses. I thought about Phyllis's notebook. Phase 2. Increase affection and visibility. Status in progress. 247 strangers thought they were watching a family. They were watching a marketing campaign with a 4-phase timeline and a target net worth of $3.1 million. I continued babysitting. Monday through Thursday. Baked pecan pie on Sundays. Said nothing about attorneys or trusts or cream-colored envelopes. Margot called Christmas Eve, her voice tight with worry. How can you keep going over there? How can you sit in their house and pretend? I am not pretending, Margot. I am babysitting my grandchildren. There is a difference. And the best plans take time. You know that. Let it be. I told myself that every morning driving to Garrett's house in the early dark. Let it be. While Janine handed me a gift bag on Christmas morning, a cashmere scarf cream-colored and a card reading, "To the best mother-in-law in the world. Love always, Janine." I wore the scarf once, for the photo she wanted for Instagram. Then I folded it and put it in a drawer. The card sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I filed it in the folder labeled November, next to Victor's credit alert and the 24 photographs of Phyllis's notebook. January 2026. Phyllis visited for a New Year's check-in. She flew from Tucson on a Tuesday, a trip she had never made before, last year. Dinner at Garrett's house. White wine candles Janine arranged on the dining table, cloth napkins she'd ordered for the occasion. I recognized the staging. I had staged 100 dinners like this for physician clients during my career. The napkins were for the audience, not for the guest. Phyllis was warm. She complimented my dress, a dark red wrap I had worn to sales calls, asked about my health, my garden, my morning walks along the irrigation canal. She poured my wine before I reached for the bottle. She asked if I was sleeping well. Then she leaned across the table. "Tessa, have you thought about downsizing 4 bedrooms for one person? It's a lot of house, a lot of maintenance. Garrett and Janine could help you find something smaller, something manageable." "I like my space, Phyllis. I just worry. A woman your age alone in that big house. What if you fell? What if something happened in the middle of the night? I have good balance and a security system. I'm just saying, thinking ahead is smart. That's all. A woman your age." She said it the way Garrett had said 67, like a diagnosis, like a condition I had not yet been told about. After dinner, while Janine loaded the dishwasher, I walked to the bathroom, past the bedroom door, which was open 3 inches. Phyllis's voice low. She's resisting the house talk. Push the health angle next. Mention the stairs. Mention memory. Victor says if we can document any cognitive decline, the POA becomes easier. I flushed the toilet loudly, washed my hands, came back smiling. "Lovely dinner, Janine, thank you." Phyllis had a script for every conversation. What she did not have was a script for what happens when the target rewrites the entire play. Wednesday, January 14, 2026. Helen Reeves called at 9:15 a.m. "The crud is ready to execute." I drove to her office in 20 minutes. 46 pages of trust documents sat on her desk in a brown folder. The Robert Winters Memorial Fund was established as a named charitable fund within the Dona Ana County Community Foundation, operating under the foundation's existing 501c3 status, fully registered and confirmed. I read every page, every clause, every footnote, every cross-reference to IRC Section 664. Helen sat across from me and waited. Good lawyers do not rush clients who are signing away the power to change their minds. Then I signed 9 signatures, 3 sets of initials, dated January 14, 2026. I transferred $1.4 million from my investment portfolio into the charitable remainder unit trust. Annual payout 5%, $70,000 a year, deposited quarterly into my checking account, for life. Upon my death, the entire remainder goes to the Robert Winters Memorial Fund to award scholarships and support community health programs in southern New Mexico. Not 1 cent to Garrett. My hand did not shake. I thought of Robert, his laugh, his stubbornness, his refusal to let anyone take what he had built. I thought of 8-year-old Garrett at the funeral clinging to my hand. I thought about the man that boy became, a man who sat at a kitchen table 12 minutes away and told his wife to keep playing, and I signed. That same week I called MetLife, changed the beneficiary on my $400,000 life insurance policy from Garrett Winters to the Crutee. "This change is effective immediately, Ms. Winters. You'll receive written confirmation within 10 business days. $400,000, redirected with a 15-minute phone call and a 4-digit PIN. I drove home and baked a pecan pie. Ate a slice standing at the counter, looking out at the Oregon mountains turning gold in the late afternoon light. Robert's mother's recipe. The pecans were from a farm stand in Mesilla. The portfolio was being repositioned, and my son, 12 minutes away, was telling his wife to keep playing. Late January. My phone rang on a Wednesday. Phoenix area code. "Mrs. Winters, this is Victor Devane, Janine's uncle. I wanted to follow up on our conversation at Thanksgiving." The last time he had spoken to me, he was offering pro bono advice over turkey and wine. Now he was calling my home on a Wednesday afternoon. "I'm a certified financial planner with Devane Financial Partners. I wanted to offer a complimentary review of your estate documents. No charge, no obligation." I have an advisor, Victor. A second opinion never hurts. Practiced pause exactly 2 seconds, the kind they teach in sales training. Garrett mentioned you might be considering beneficiary updates. I just want to ensure everything is structured efficiently, tax-wise. Did he? I specialize in multi-generational wealth preservation. I've helped families in your exact situation, single-income estates, grown children, grandchildren. I appreciate the call, Victor. I'll keep your number. I hung up. Picked up my blue notebook from the reading glasses case. Wrote Victor Devane, January 28, 2026, 3:14 p.m. Called Re-My Estate. Referenced Garrett. Unrequested. Offered free review euphemism for access. He was smooth. Professional. The kind of man who slides the knife in while explaining it is a routine procedure and hands you a brochure about the benefits. The following Monday, February 2nd, I filed a formal complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau regarding Victor's unauthorized credit inquiry from November. Fair Credit Reporting Act 15 U.S.C. Section 1681B. No permissible purpose, no authorization, no existing business relationship. In the pharmaceutical industry, we called that a compliance violation. The federal government calls it something considerably more serious. I know what you were thinking. Why not just confront them? If you have ever been underestimated by someone you raised, you know the answer. Confrontation gives them the chance to explain, minimize, and perform their way out. Documents do not. Stay with me. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. February 2026. I changed the beneficiary on my 401k rollover IRA $320,000 accumulated over 30 years of contributions and growth. Previous beneficiary, Garrett Winters. New beneficiaries, Lily Grace Winters and Owen Robert Winters, via 529 education savings plans established through the Education Plan of New Mexico. $160,000 for Lily, $160,000 for Owen. College fully funded, administered by their grandmother as custodian, untouchable by their father under federal 529 protections. That same week, I visited my bank on Main Street, changed the pay-on-death designations on my checking account, $87,000, and my savings account, $142,000. Previous POD beneficiary on both Garrett Winters. New POD beneficiary, the Charitable Remainder Unit Rust. The branch manager asked if I was sure. I told her I had never been more sure of anything in 67 years. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table and did the math on a yellow legal pad. CRUT $1, $400,000. Life insurance $400,000. Retirement accounts $320,000. Bank accounts $229,000. Total redirected $349,000. My son believed he was inheriting close to $3 million. He was now inheriting nothing. Every policy, every account, every designation restructured and irrevocable. I updated my will the same week. Everything remaining goes to the Robert Winters Memorial Fund. I placed the legal pad in the cream-colored envelope on my desk, laid it beneath my reading glasses case. The architecture was nearly complete, mid-February, babysitting at Garrett's house. Owen napping, Lily coloring at the kitchen table, a picture of our house with a yellow door. Janine was in the master bedroom on speakerphone. The door was closed, but not latched. She had forgotten I was still in the house. She thought I had left at 5, but Owen's nap ran long and I had stayed. Phyllis's voice tinny and sharp through the speaker. How's the old girl still sharp? She baked another pie yesterday. She's fine. Same as always. Good. We need her functional for at least another year. After the accounts transfer, it won't matter as much. Victor says once Garrett is joint on the checking, we can move to Phase 3 proper. Functional. I stood in the hallway with my hand on the doorframe. Functional. Like an appliance with a scheduled date of obsolescence. Like a machine you maintain until it has served its purpose, and then you unplug it. I walked quietly to the kitchen. Put on my reading glasses. Picked up Owen when he woke 10 minutes later, warm and heavy in my arms. Read him a book about a bear who builds a house brick by brick with his own paws. Owen put his small hand on my cheek and said, "Nana." That evening, I called Margot from my kitchen, standing by the window where I could see the Oregon mountains in the dark. Phyllis told Janine they need me functional for another year. After the accounts transfer, it won't matter. Margot's voice went to steel. Tell me you're going to say something. I am going to say everything, Margot, at exactly the right time. When? My birthday, March 15th. Garrett is throwing me a dinner. That's 5 weeks from now. Helen has everything ready, so do I. Margot paused. What do you need from me? Just be there and trust me, the way I've always trusted you. Late February. Helen Reeves completed the final package. I sat in her office and reviewed 5 documents. Page 1 letter confirming the CRUT under IRC Section 664. Funded with $1.4 million. Payout 5% to Tessa Winters for life. Remainder the Robert Winters Memorial Fund, 501c3 Dona Ana County Community Foundation. Page 2. Summary of beneficiary changes. MetLife $400,000 redesignated to CRUT IRA, $320,000 redesignated to 529 plans for Lily and Owen. Bank accounts $229,000 IOD changed to CRUT, page 3. CFPB complaint against Victor Devane FCRA violation. Page 4. My handwritten account of the overheard conversation, November 8, 2025, plus photographs of Phyllis's notebook. Page 5. A handwritten note on cream stationery in my own cursive. A mother's love was never about the money, Garrett. I wish you'd understood that. I reviewed each document one final time. Then I sealed them in the cream-colored envelope, heavy stock, the kind you use for invitations to events that change things. Hand-addressed, in blue ink, to Garrett. It weighed less than a pound. It contained the end of everything my son thought he was building toward. 5 pages, 4 months of silence, 4 months of pecan pies and babysitting and let it be. All of it, every quiet morning and every overheard phone call and every unanswered question about my accounts distilled into one envelope. Helen walked me to the door. You are doing the right thing, Tessa. I know. That is why it does not feel good. The right thing rarely does. I drove home and placed the envelope in my desk drawer beneath my reading glasses case. It would wait there until March 15th, early March. Garrett visited on a Friday evening. He sat at my kitchen table wearing the jacket I bought him for Christmas. He leaned back and smiled the smile he used when he wanted something. I had cataloged that smile for 42 years. Mom, I want to talk about something. Janine and I think it makes sense to add me to the deed on this house. The deed. As a precaution, a safety measure. If something happened to you, God forbid Victor says joint ownership simplifies the transition, avoids probate. Victor says. He caught himself. A small flinch behind the eyes, barely visible, but I had spent 30 years reading flinches across conference tables. From a legal standpoint, joint ownership is just good planning. That's all. Nothing is going to happen to me, Garrett. You're 67, Mom. I am aware of my age. I was also aware of it when I was managing 9 sales teams and a 7-figure territory. Age is not a disease. I'm not saying I'm just trying to help. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Something flickered behind his eyes, fear recognition. Then gone, replaced by that practiced smile, the one that Phyllis had taught Janine and that Janine had apparently taught him. Think about it. No rush. He left. I watched him drive away, taillights disappearing toward the mesa. There was a pecan pie cooling on the counter. He had not mentioned it. Had not asked about Lily's reading. She was sounding out 4-letter words now. Had not asked about Owen's newest word, Nana, which Owen said every time I walked through the door, arms up, grinning. He had asked about the deed. That told me everything. 2nd week of March. Garrett called on a Tuesday evening. Mom, Janine, and I want to throw you a birthday dinner. La Posta de Mesilla, Sunday the 15th. Private dining room. La Posta, old adobe red chili restauras, private rooms in the back with wrought iron chandeliers. I had taken clients there for 30 years. That's lovely, Garrett. We invited everybody. Your old Merck colleagues, Janet, Diane, Ruth, your neighbors from the street, Aunt Margot is driving down from Albuquerque, and Phyllis and Victor are coming up from Tucson and Phoenix. Of course they are. 22 guests confirmed. We want to do this right, Mom. You deserve it. I hung up and called Margot immediately. They're throwing me a birthday dinner. La Posta. 22 guests. They're performing Tessa for the biggest audience they've assembled yet. Yes, and I am going to give them a performance they will never forget. The envelope. The envelope. Are you sure? In front of everyone. There's no going back from that. There was never going back, Margot. Not since November 8th. Not since I stood in that hallway with a pecan pie and heard my son call me soft. Margot exhaled long and slow. What should I wear? Something comfortable. It's going to be a long dessert course. That night I opened my desk drawer. The cream-colored envelope sat beneath my reading glasses case exactly where I had placed it 3 weeks earlier. I touched it once, ran my finger along the sealed edge, felt the weight of the pages inside. 5 days. Sunday, March 15, 2026. My 68th birthday. I woke at 6, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table and watched the Oregon mountains turn pink with first light. The jagged peaks caught the sun before anything else in the valley. I baked a pecan pie, Robert's mother's recipe written on an index card in her pencil cursive. Butter dark caro syrup, 3 eggs a cup of Mesilla Valley pecans. I have made this pie every Sunday for 40 years. Some people go to church. I bake pie. I showered. Put on the cobalt blue sheath dress I had bought for the occasion from a boutique in Old Mesilla. Looked in the mirror. I did not look soft. I did not look like a woman summarized in a notebook. I did not look like a machine someone planned to keep functional for 1 more year. I looked like someone who had buried a husband, raised a son, built a career from nothing, and made a decision she would never have to make again. I put the cream-colored envelope in my purse, checked it twice, put on my reading glasses to verify the seal was intact, took them off and placed them in the case beside the envelope. I drove to La Posta de Mesilla. The parking lot was filling in the late afternoon sun. Garrett's silver SUV near the front entrance. Margot's old green Subaru 3 spots over. Margot was by the entrance in a dark green dress, arms crossed, watching for me. She hugged me hard enough that I felt her heartbeat against mine. "You okay?" "Let it be," I said. Margot smiled, slow knowing. For the first time since November, genuine understanding crossed her face. She knew what those words meant now. Not patience, not surrender. The work is done. La Posta de Mesilla, private dining room, adobe walls, hand-painted tiles, wrought iron chandelier casting warm light across a long table, set with white linen. 22 guests. Garrett at the head in a navy blazer, Janine beside him in a cream dress, Phyllis in pearl earrings, Victor at the far end phone, face down on the tablecloth, former Merck colleagues along the left side, Janet, Diane, Ruth, women I had worked with for 15 and 20 years, neighbors from my street, Margot near the middle, napkin in her lap, watching me the way she had watched me for 65 years. Janine rushed over the moment I walked in. "Happy birthday, Mom. We love you so much." She hugged me 3 seconds, exactly long enough for Garrett to raise his phone and take a photograph. I heard the shutter click. Garrett rose and raised his glass. "Before we sit down, a toast to the best mother a man could ask for. Happy birthday, Mom." Glasses clinked around the table. 22 voices said happy birthday. I smiled, sipped water. My pecan pie sat on the dessert table at the back of the room, beside a chocolate cake Janine had ordered from a bakery. I had insisted on bringing the pie, one last pie for this room. Victor leaned toward Garrett and whispered something behind his water glass. Garrett nodded a small, tight nod, the nod of a man who believes the deal is about to close. I ate dinner, held Owen on my lap while he played with my necklace. Lily handed me a birthday card she had made herself, 6 yellow suns drawn in crayon, and inside in letters I had taught her to write, "I love you, Nana." There would be time. There is always time when the work is done. After dinner, enchiladas, green chile stew, sopapillas with honey, Garrett stood, straightened his blazer, cleared his throat. I want to say a few words about my mother. 3 minutes. He talked about how I raised him alone after Robert died, the 60-hour weeks, the Honda Civic on his 16th birthday, the tuition and the down payment, how I taught him about hard work and family and showing up. She taught me everything about showing up, he said. His voice cracked on the word everything. It sounded real, a genuine crack in a rehearsed speech, the kind that makes an audience lean forward. But I had spent 30 years distinguishing real emotion from rehearsed vulnerability in quarterly sales presentations. I knew the difference. Janine dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Phyllis nodded approvingly, lips pressed together. My son stood before 22 people and described a mother he was planning to defraud. He talked about moving to Las Cruces to give Mom the family she deserves. About Janine, my wife loves my mother like her own. She has been a blessing. Keep playing the good daughter-in-law. His November voice lived beneath every sentence like a bass line. Applause. A Merck colleague leaned over. You raised a good one, Tessa. Thank you, Janet. He certainly knows how to deliver a speech. Margot caught my eye from across the table. I gave one small nod, the kind you give across a conference room when the presentation is finished and the real meeting is about to begin. She set her napkin down and sat straight. Garrett smiled. Janine kept wiping tears. It was time. I stood. My chair scraped the tile. The room turned. Thank you, Garrett. That was a beautiful speech. I adjusted my reading glasses. I have something for you. I took the cream-colored envelope from my purse, hand addressed to Garrett. I wanted to give this to you tonight in front of everyone who matters to us both, because what is inside concerns everyone at this table. Garrett smiled wide, expectant, the smile of a man who thinks he is about to receive a gift. Mom, you didn't have to open it. He slid his thumb under the flap. The paper tore cleanly. He pulled out the first page, Helen's letter printed on her firm's stationery. 22 pairs of eyes watched my son read. His smile drained slowly, unevenly, the way color leaves a face when blood has somewhere else to go. He read 3 lines, stopped, read them again. His eyes moved back to the top of the page as if the words might rearrange themselves. They did not. He flipped to page 2. His lips moved without sound. I could see him mouthing numbers. Then page 3. I watched his face change the way I had watched sales reps' faces when I told them their territory was being reassigned. First confusion, then disbelief, then fear, then the terrible understanding that the decision had already been made, the papers already signed, and there was nothing left to negotiate. Janine leaned over his shoulder. What is it, Garrett? What's wrong? He looked up at me, the envelope trembling in his hand, his lips white. Mom, he said, what is this? A letter from my estate attorney. Everything is on those pages. Garrett read aloud, his voice splintering. Charitable Remainder Unit Rust. Internal Revenue Code Section 664. Irrevocable. Remainder Beneficiary. The Robert Winters Memorial Fund. Victor straightened so fast his water glass rattled. His eyes found page 3. His name was on page 3. You moved everything. Garrett's voice was thin as paper. I restructured my estate. Under IRC Section 664 and the New Mexico Uniform Trust Code, Chapter 46A, every change is irrevocable. Janine grabbed the papers, read, turned to Phyllis. Phyllis had gone still. Pearl earrings catching chandelier light, face without color. The life insurance, the IRA. The bank accounts all redesignated under New Mexico statute 45-2706. Your children's education is funded $160,000 each through 529 plans. The rest goes to the foundation. You named it after Dad. Your father believed people should earn what they have. I tried to teach you that. I failed, but the money can still do what he would have done. 22 people. No one moved. I could hear ice shifting in a water glass 3 seats away. I let the silence do what silence does best. It filled the room like water, inch by inch, until there was nowhere left to stand. Janine broke first. She stood so fast her chair hit the adobe wall behind her. "You can't do this. We're your family. We moved here for you." Family does not keep a notebook with asset estimates and a 4-phase timeline, Janine. Family does not calculate when the target will become, what was the word, functional enough to hand over power of attorney. Her face drained white. "What notebook?" "Page 4 of the envelope. I found it in your kitchen drawer in December. Burgundy cover, Phyllis's handwriting, 12 pages front and back. I photographed every one." Every head at that table turned toward Phyllis. Phyllis stood slowly smoothing her blouse. "You're clearly not well, Tessa. This is irrational. We'll contest every document in that envelope." "A charitable remainder unit rust is irrevocable, Phyllis. Your brother can explain the legal mechanics if he still has his license after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reviews his unauthorized credit inquiry on my accounts." Victor went gray. His hands dropped from the table to his lap. "That was a routine. The Fair Credit Reporting Act, 15 U.S.C. Section 1681B, does not recognize routine as a permissible purpose." Page 3. Garrett leaned forward, eyes wet and red. "Mom, please, I didn't mean what I said. I was venting. We were having a bad morning. You told your wife to keep playing the good daughter-in-law. You said I was soft. You said I would leave you everything. That was not a bad morning, Garrett. That was a business plan." Pause. Let it land. Let every syllable find its chair. "You were right about one thing. I am soft. I baked you a pecan pie this morning at 6 o'clock, the same recipe your grandmother wrote on an index card. But I am not stupid, and I am not an asset summary in a notebook I was never meant to find." I had not raised my voice, not once, not a single syllable louder than the one before it. A Merck colleague set down her fork. A neighbor pressed her napkin to her mouth. Nobody spoke. Garrett tried once more. "Let's talk privately, not here." "There is nothing to fix, Garrett. It is irrevocable. That is the point." I turned to the room. "I apologize for the interruption. This is still my birthday dinner." I sat down, cut a piece of pecan pie, my pie baked at 6 that morning, and took a slow bite. Robert's mother knew what she was doing. Margot walked over, sat beside me, put her hand on my arm. "Let it be," she whispered. "Let it be." Garrett stood at the head of the table holding papers like a map to a country that no longer exists. Janine pulled his elbow, whispering something sharp. Phyllis gathered her coat. Victor paced toward the door phone to his ear. They left before dessert, all 4. Garrett did not look back. I stayed 2 hours, ate pie, drank tea, talked with Janet about gardening and a book club Ruth had started. Janet squeezed my hand. "Tessa, I had no idea." "Neither did I, until November." I held Lily until her eyes got heavy, took off my reading glasses and set them on the tablecloth. I had seen everything I needed to see. For the first time in 4 months, I breathed. Garrett called 3 times that week. I did not answer. Janine texted, "You'll regret this. We're getting a lawyer." I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Helen Reeves. Helen replied, "Let them." Phyllis called Margot the next day. "Your sister isn't in her right mind. We're going to petition for a competency review." Margot's reply, "My sister outsmarted 4 people with 1 cream-colored envelope. She is in the best mind she has ever been in. Call again and I'll give her your number for the complaint file." Victor received the CFPB notification in late March. His firm, Devane Financial Partners, placed him on administrative review pending investigation of the unauthorized credit inquiry. Garrett hired an attorney. The attorney called Helen. Her response, "The charitable remainder unit rust is irrevocable under IRC Section 1664 and the New Mexico Uniform Trust Code, Chapter 46A. The beneficiary redesignations comply with NM Statute 45-2706. Your client has no standing. There is no legal mechanism to contest." Garrett's attorney told him plainly, "There is nothing we can do, Mr. Winters." The Robert Winters Memorial Fund received its first outside donation the following month, $500 from Janet, my former Merck colleague, who'd been sitting 3 seats away at the dinner when Garrett's face changed. I still see Lily and Owen. Saturdays at Apodaca Park Neutral Ground, Margot beside me on the bench. The children run to my arms the same way they always have. Owen with his hands up yelling, "Nana!" Lily with a book she wants me to read. Without calculation, without a script. Garrett is cordial now. Not warm, not performing. He drops the children off and picks them up without a speech. That is an improvement. Janine stopped coming to exchanges in April. One-word texts, ready and confirmed. No hashtags. No Instagram posts. Phyllis returned to Tucson. Victor resigned before the review concluded. His license remains under inquiry. I bake pecan pie on Sundays. For myself and Margot now. We eat it at my kitchen table with tea, talking about Lily's reading level, whether Owen will be left-handed like Robert was. The Robert Winters Memorial Fund awarded its first scholarship in June, $5,000 to a single mother in Las Cruces pursuing a pharmacy tech certificate at Dona Ana Community College. I thought about that woman. I thought about myself in 1992, 34, standing in a college hallway with a GED and a sleeping toddler. The money was always meant for this. Not to sit in accounts for people who kept 4-phase timelines in kitchen drawers. I still wear my reading glasses. Same tortoiseshell frames, same scratch on the left lens. But now I read for joy Lily's drawings, Owen's first sentences, Margot's terrible jokes. People ask if I feel guilty. I do not. Guilt is for people who act from spite. I acted from clarity. There is a difference between burning a bridge and building a better road. My son told his wife to keep playing the good daughter-in-law. His mother-in-law kept a notebook with 4 phases and a net worth estimate. His wife's uncle broke federal law to calculate how much I was worth. And my son, the boy I raised alone, the boy I paid through college, called me soft. I let them play. When the game ended, I showed them the score. A mother's love is not a line item on an asset summary. It is not a phase in a timeline. It is not a performance you rehearse over the phone while your children's grandmother holds your son in the next room. A mother's love is a pecan pie at 6 in the morning. It is reading glasses with a scratch on the left lens. It is 40 years of showing up to the school, to the office, to the kitchen table when no one says thank you. Garrett will understand that someday, or he will not. Either way, the Robert Winters Memorial Fund will do what Robert would have done, help people who show up and do the work. I am 68 years old. I built my life once from nothing, a GED, a baby, and $200 in savings. I can build the rest from here. Let it be. That is my story. 4 months of silence, 1 cream-colored envelope, and a birthday dinner that no one at that table will ever forget. If this story reminded you that your worth is not measured by what you leave behind, but by what you stand for, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.